You're listening to the Foxx Den Sports Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Todd and his three sons, Kellen, Garrett, and Gannon.
Hello, and welcome back to all of our friends, family, and our foes, along with my two sons, Kellen and Gannon. I'm Todd Foxx, and together we are the Foxx Den Sports Podcast. And Garrett, unfortunately, can't make it with us tonight, but we've got a lot to talk about. NFL playoffs, some coaching news, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of crazy things happened this weekend. These are some great times this time of the year with the NFL playoffs. I love having two games on Saturday, two games on Sunday. And this coming up Saturday will be will be the first time we haven't had any football since college football kicked off early in the year. I think either the last part of August, early September, whenever that was. But this will be the first time. So it's always kind of a weird feeling. I know college basketball will be starting to heat up. I know the conferences are playing each other now. So what's crazy is in the next, probably 6 weeks, we'll have March Madness going on. So I want to try to keep up with it. I say it every year that I want to really get into college basketball, but it's hard for me until after football season. So we shall see. But Kellen, did you get any ice that way? Any ice or snow or anything? No?
No, they kept acting like it was going to happen, but it just never got cold enough. I mean, it's got below 30 a little bit, but it doesn't last for long. So we've been fine here.
Yeah, and I know you missed some classes, right, because of the snow, ice?
Yeah, a couple of days off. It was on a MLK week, so we had a 5-day weekend.
That's kind of interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I know we got some ice this morning, and I left a little early to get to work. Got there about 6:30, and didn't have any. I don't think I had any call-outs till this evening, which is kind of interesting, but it is what it is. But it's gotten better. It's going to be in the 50s here in the next couple of days, and then next week I think is a day close to the 60s. So that'll be pretty cool. But we shall see. But let's get right into it. The games this past weekend, we had some. I mean, I guess we had some decent games. I mean, the Ravens and the Texans went down exactly kind of, I think, how we all thought it was going to go. Like, Texans were hung in there with them for a little while. And
until halftime or so, right? Or a little after that.
And unfortunately, they couldn't hold it. And next thing you know, the Ravens took over and won that thing 34-10. I know. Lamar Jackson, what are your thoughts on him? I think he's looking pretty good right now. I don't know what your all thoughts are, but he's looking
Great
good.
Second half. He started like all right. But I remember one thing we always talk about is don't let the team that's worse than you, don't let them linger around, because they'll just make that one play at the end that takes it. But they put it in the bag. You know what I mean? They wrapped it up.
Yeah.
Took care of business. His first half was, like I said, a little shaky, but second half, dude, he was phenomenal.
I mean, he hadn't played in 3 weeks, so he probably had to get a little warmed back up.
About that.
He didn't play last week, and they had the first round bye. But I mean, I knew he was going to have a big year all year, just because I had a feeling with that contract that he was finally going to come out and just ball. So I mean, he's looking awesome. If there's anybody that can beat the Chiefs, it's him.
And it was
100%.
Unfortunate to see CJ Stroud. I wanted him to go off. I wanted the Texans to win, but
oh yeah, sure.
But I mean,
they got a bright future.
Great playoff,
100%
debut. It's okay to come to an end there, but
because they should still have some of the Browns picks, I'd assume. So they're gonna be able to get some more weapons for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a great future.
Sure.
I like their coach as well, and I mean, obviously. Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, saved Harbaugh's job. I mean, I'm not saying he was going to be fired or anything, but they were kind of going down off of the big high that they had for several years, and then next thing you know, he turns it around. I know there's a lot of questions out there. Well, he can't throw the ball as well and all that, but I mean, at the end of the day, if his rushing totals and his passing totals equal like say Patrick Mahomes is passing, does it really matter? I mean, he's still getting the total yards average. I mean, the only thing is he may be taking a few shots here and there, but the guy is phenomenal runner, which I personally I can't stand. I just can't, because guys like that are just too athletic. And the fact is that, I mean, years ago, those guys, like a quarterback like him would have been probably a receiver or something like that. Instead, they put some of the most athletic guys at quarterback now, which is fantastic, I guess, because this is what you see now is the NFL. I know. Check this out. So salaries, his salary this year was $80 million, and Brock Purdy's $870,000. That's the big discrepancy there in two guys' salary. Wow. And they're both taking their teams to the championship games, NFC and AFC championship games. And as of right now, probably the favorites to meet in the Super Bowl coming up here in a few weeks. But we'll talk about that here shortly. But I do, like you said just a second ago, I do think the Houston Texans have a bright future. I think C.J. Stroud was much better than a lot of people thought he was going to be. So congratulations to him. I know the NFC championship or NFC divisional game, the 49ers 24, Packers 21. I mean, the Packers had that thing in control for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then right there kind of towards the end, I mean, you can't kick field goals in these games. You got to be able to score touchdowns, and they kept kicking field goals. But any thoughts on that game? What were your thoughts?
I thought Green Bay had it, and I was like beyond excited. Like you said, if you finish just one extra drive than they did, totally different game. San Francisco has to play with more urgency, a little more nervous. Maybe have to lean on Purdy more, which I don't know whether that worked or not, but I don't know. I was just disappointed at the end. The last throw is just like by Love. It's like, man, like it was right there, man. Just a few more yards or half the field, but still.
I don't think Purdy looked that great. Go ahead.
I just wish the outcome would have been different. I thought it would have been crazy if the Packers finally beat the 49ers without Rodgers.
That's like I told your mom. I said, you know what's funny is, Rodgers just left, and it's possible
all those years
they could go to the conference championship game without him, which is amazing. Because I like I said last week, I was wrong on Jordan Love. I thought he played a pretty good game. He took a little bit of a risk there at the end. Rodgers didn't take those kind of risks. Brett Favre did. Brett Favre, you guys saw it like that one year against when he was in Minnesota, New Orleans. He just would have gotten to field goal range. We would have had a better Super Bowl between the Colts and Vikings. Would have been incredible. But instead, the Saints won that thing. But is what it is. I was going to say just a second ago, I didn't think Brock Purdy looked that great, but when he needed to play well, he did, especially towards the end. Got them that touchdown at the very end, and won them the football game. And we'll talk about that here shortly. But I mean, it's going to be an interesting game here this coming up weekend between San Francisco and the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions obviously beat Baker Mayfield this past weekend, and I was torn because I really want to see Detroit do well because they've been pretty bad for a long time, but I also wanted to see Baker win. So either way, I was going to be happy, and whoever won that football game was who I was going to be for the rest of the way. And I think Baker did well.
Played good.
That last interception, I know people were kind of giving him a hard time. I don't know about you guys, but at that point, there's a little bit over a minute left, I think, in the game, and he's got to press. He's got to get the ball upfield. So you can't really. I mean, I guess you can, say, hey, he did throw the interception, but he was trying to press a little bit too hard, and I think there was another guy open a little bit further down the field, and he just threw it, and it looked like it, and it was pretty much right to that defensive player. And I think they had a couple timeouts if they would have just gotten a little bit,
he just
further down the field,
85 yards.
Yeah.
And 100 seconds is like you said, you got to take some shots.
Sure. Mike Evans dropped a lot of passes early on, but then he came up big at the end.
Yeah. Their whole team was dropping passes. He never had any time to throw. Like,
yes, 100%. Yeah.
That game, he had some picks, but all in all, like, I turned it on in the second half, and like I watched. They went 3 and out because I watched 2 passes go right through receivers' hands in a row, and it was just like he has no help. And like he's got a couple players on that team that can make plays, but if they're not on, there's nothing else he can do.
I just really hope they re-sign him. I think they'd be crazy not to. Even a couple two-year deal, preferably a little bit longer. I think he proved that he can win playoff games. Obviously, he won one in Cleveland. He won one in Tampa. Mm-hmm. He's won 2. He's not a great quarterback, but he's not a terrible quarterback. But he can have those some bad decisions that are made at times. It happens. It's unfortunate, but I thought he played pretty well. And hats off to Detroit. I think they take after their coach Dan Campbell. They're very physical, and they're very well coached. You can see that. I think they got a really good offensive line. I think Aiden Hutchinson and that defensive line can get after the quarterback. So that's going to make a very interesting game this coming up. I know it was pretty cool seeing the crowd going nuts because it was in Detroit. They won, they got 2 home games this playoff season, and they came close to honestly having 3. If they would have had the Packers, that place probably would have gone absolutely nuts. But I don't know. Much thoughts on the Detroit Lions? What are you guys thinking? Because I think the 1-2 punch of Montgomery and Gibbs is a pretty good punch as well.
I mean, I think they're the hottest team. Like, they never had a rough stretch like Dallas, Philadelphia, or San Francisco did. Like, they've lost some games, but it's not like they went on these streaks of losing like all those teams did. I think they're the hottest team. I don't think they're like their whole team. They're not like filled with just the top of the top superstars, but the whole team is just solid, above average. Like they're good. Like Montgomery, Gibbs, all of them are good, but none of them are like top 3 like you'd consider like all the 49ers or all Baltimore. These other teams. But I think because of that, they just work as a team, and whoever has to make the play makes the play. It's not get the ball in McCaffrey's hands. It's just, all right, let's somebody make a play. And I think that's going to be an advantage for them next week.
It's going to be a great game. I think so. Gannon, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was going to say I was torn as well.
Yeah.
I was still pulling for Baker though. I was like,
were you?
He's not going to have a ton of chances like this to like.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Or is it conference in NFL? I don't actually know. Conference championship.
Conference championship, yeah, for the NFC championship,
yeah. Either side, I'm just like, that would have been sick. But I think Detroit does give the best shot to beat San Francisco, and I 100%. Don't like San Francisco. So if that's the kind of like leverage we have to take, I'll be happy with that. But I don't know, this next matchup, not much would make me happier than a Kansas City Detroit Lions Super Bowl. That would be tremendous.
Here's the world. The last time the Detroit Lions were in an NFC championship game. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's been 32 seasons. iPods didn't exist yet. Text messaging wasn't invented. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Gibbs, and Sam Laporta were not even born yet. Amazon, Google, MySpace, Facebook, none of that existed. PlayStation and Xbox weren't invented yet. The BlackBerry was still 8 years away from being invented. Joel Embiid, Giannis, and Jokic, they weren't born yet. And then the head coach, Dan Campbell, was still in high school. So I can remember when they went to that game. I'm pretty sure it was against the Redskins. And then Washington just, slaughtered them. It was a couple years before, or the year before Dallas. I think it was the year before Dallas went to the conference championship against San Francisco, but I think that was the year before. Barry Sanders, Scott Mitchell, I believe, were the main guys on that team. But that's a long time. And I got spoiled in the early '90s with the Cowboys. And if you would have told me at the end of 95 whatever that was, 95, 96, whenever Switzer won the championship, that Dallas was still not going to win a championship by the year 2023, I said, you're crazy. But unfortunately, that's the case. That's the unfortunate thing. And we'll talk about the Chiefs game in a minute, but the Cowboys chose to not fire Mike McCarthy, which I think a lot of people thought they would. But I think it shows a little bit that Jerry Jones is not he didn't pull the trigger as quickly as a lot of people I think he will. But the thing is McCarthy didn't sign an extension or anything, so hits this coming up year or bust for him. The only concern I would have, I guess, would be, hypothetically, if it all, goes poorly, let's just say, what do they do? Like, what coaches are going to be available? Because I don't know the answer to that. Whereas to this year, there are Harbaughs, there are Belichick's. At least, Mike Vrabel, I think would be a good guy as well for the team. But I don't know. Were you guys surprised that Jerry Jones decided not to cut ties with McCarthy?
I was surprised, but I'm not gonna say disappointed because, like I said, I didn't expect him to fire him. But I'm like not pleased with it. I think you have a decent floor with him, but a very limited ceiling. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like,
no, yeah,
I think we'll meet a decent amount of expectations, but we're never going to meet all of them or exceed any. So it's just like committing to being mid, as a lot of sports team is doing right now, or a lot of sports teams are doing, and it's just.
It's hard when they've won 12 games 3 years in a row, so it's like he's having success. But it's like getting to the point where it's like, was it an Aaron Rodgers thing to have a great regular season and lose in the playoffs, or was it a McCarthy thing? Because
true,
it seems to be something they both have in common. But it's like, it's hard with the amount of success they have had, and like how good they look every year.
On paper, winning 12 games, you would say 3 years in a row, and then firing the coach is like, well, what are you doing?
But it's like if you know you're going to lose in the playoffs every year, it's like especially like you go and lose to the number 7 seed, like
true,
a team that like it's not even like they're no disrespect to the Packers, they're good, but it's not like a 7 seed where you're like a sleeper, like nobody expected them to do anything. No. So it's like I don't know.
They just got even when they were hot at the right time.
I say even when they were hot, people still weren't like totally, I guess, scared of him, if that makes sense.
But I don't know. It's not that surprising because I feel like Jason Garrett was there forever.
No, he was. He was there.
I feel like he overstayed his welcome for sure.
A few years, at least.
I think give McCarthy one more year, see what happens, because I think Philadelphia is on their way back down already. So we'll see about how long Detroit's in here. We'll see how long San Francisco can keep all these guys on this team.
You're right.
Because once they got to pay Purdy, things are going to change in San Francisco.
Sure.
I mean, it's looking up for some other teams like Packers. They could actually look really good soon. Bears have some good picks. They should look good soon
if they can knock those picks out. Yeah.
I mean, I'd give them one more year because, like, I feel like if you get rid of them, what are the chances you're going to do anything next year just as well?
Because I'd
go ahead and see what happens.
Yeah. Overall, Dak had a pretty decent season. I mean, there were some times
he had a great year.
He had a really good season.
He threw some bad passes, and it's what happens. I mean,
but he said he was going to throw less than 10 picks. He threw less than 10 picks. He threw a ton of touchdowns, like 36 touchdowns or something like that.
Yeah, he led the league in touchdown passes. I know the big issue is, against Buffalo, he didn't show up. Against Miami, didn't show up. Against, the Packers just now, the 49ers. So, I know the one game they lost to the Eagles, he did play pretty well that game. He did step out of bounds towards the end of the game, and then I know they got beat by the Cardinals. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, for the most part, he had a pretty good season. And I think a lot of that does attribute to Mike McCarthy. I think what they need is a running back, like a main back, instead of Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard's more the guy that the little third down back kind of guy that you get the ball out to. Derrick Henry would be fantastic. I don't think they would want to pay him though, but like someone that could be a little bit more of a
A
bruiser.
game changer.
Yes, if you know what I mean. That's my thoughts. And I still think they need to shore up the defense a little bit because they can't keep getting beat on just plays, big plays. I mean, Micah Parsons, honestly, I think he kind of had a down year. And I think he talks too much. I love the guy to death, but he needs to just be quiet and stop complaining and stop riling up other teams.
When you
I think you guys need. What'd you say?
No, you go ahead.
I mean, I think you need one more receiver because I personally think CeeDee Lamb's top 3 in the league.
Oh yeah, sure.
I think he's one of the best.
All the eyes are on him.
Run after catch. Like,
yeah,
I think CeeDee. I don't know. I personally would put CeeDee in the top 2, but I might be a little biased. But if you can get one more receiver, one more
Michael
consistent,
Gallup, I don't think he'll be back. I think they're going to cut ties with him.
He was buns, man.
Yeah,
like jeez.
if you can grab one more just complimentary receiver that because CeeDee is gonna every year is gonna take more and more pressure off everybody else.
Right. If they could get somebody else that could take a little bit of pressure off of him, just think what he could do. I mean, the tight end this year, golly, I'm trying to think of the names.
Schultz. Ferguson.
Ferguson. I thought he had a pretty decent year.
He was solid. They always have a solid tight end. Like it seems like they always can turn somebody into just a nice little
like a solid
consistent weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think their offensive line is a little overhyped. What's the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean? People think they're better than they really are.
Yeah,
and I don't think they're that great. I think Tyron Smith on the left tackle, you know, he's obviously older, and they need to figure out a way to replace him soon. And they've got to shore up that offensive line much better, and to give Dak a little bit more time and help get that running game going. So, but we'll see. We will see. Let's talk real quick about that wonderful game last night between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. Back and forth. And just some, is what it is. Mahomes pulls those kind of games out. Jackson and I was going to say
Arnold.
I was going to say Josh Allen. Couldn't pull it out.
I mean, you can't really ask much more of it. Like he did everything he could at that point.
No, I agree. It's just the same issue with him, kind of as it is with. I was going to say a little bit with Dak, but he wins more, I think, than Dak does in the playoffs. But they just can't get over that hump, and I feel so bad. I mean,
he makes that kick, and it's like,
true.
Who knows where it ends up? But
the Chiefs scored on all but 2 drives, if you don't count the halftime drive.
Yeah, so it's Chiefs. Oh man,
there's not much more you can do there. Like he scored on most drives. There was a couple punts in the third quarter that they had to do, but like
you put them in position to get it to hopefully overtime. But even then, I mean, they had just under 2 minutes. Did Kansas City have any timeouts?
Yeah, I think they
did.
Like 3.
They were complaining. The guys on the TV were saying they should be using some of them.
Oh yeah, so like even then, like Kansas City could have just like obviously 2-minute drill, but.
We don't know.
Put him in the position to tie it. Exactly.
Yeah.
The reality is he put him in a position to get it to hopefully overtime, and he shanked the kick. So it's like
44-yard kick nowadays is kind of like I don't want to say like a chip shot, but a lot of the guys are making it, right?
You know what I mean? You assume it's guaranteed.
Yeah, and it's. I feel sorry for Tyler Bass. I know he's getting a lot of threats, and he took himself off of social media, which doesn't make any sense for people to bust his chops like that. Because, I mean, the guy feels terrible about missing that kick. But at the same time, I know Josh. The only thing I say is about Josh is that he was trying a little bit too much towards that end. I can't remember who he was trying to throw to in the end zone, and you had Diggs on a little crossing route.
He could have grabbed an easy first down, most likely.
Yes, 100%. And it is what it is. I mean, he's trying to make the big play. I heard somebody on TV say today, well, they didn't. The difference is the big plays. Kansas City, had all these big plays, and Buffalo didn't have any. I'm like, well, Buffalo tried though. I know he threw a couple really deep passes that were like 50-yard bombs, and I know Diggs dropped one, and I think another guy, I can't remember the guy's name, who took over for one of the other receivers, dropped the ball. it looked like a catch at first, but you saw it hit the ground. So they did take some shots.
But like, I know at one point they showed a graphic and Kansas City had 6 plays for over 20 yards and Buffalo had 0.
Yeah. And like in not most games, but like if that balances out and it's 3-3, totally different game.
But also when they showed that Buffalo was still in command, they were like, Chiefs scored really quickly on the third quarter, and Buffalo went in for an 8-minute drive, and just their average play was 5 yards, and just slowly chipped away until they got to the end zone.
People are always trying to say like Mahomes and Allen are like today's Brady and Manning, and like I'm not throwing shade at Josh Allen, but I think that's disrespectful to Manning and Brady, because like Brady was winning rings, Manning was winning MVPs. Right now, it's only Mahomes doing that right now. And obviously, I'm a bigger Mahomes fan than you guys, so I'm obviously going to say that. But even if you love both, like one or the other, like Manning and Brady was light years ahead. Like, it's a rise of rivalry. I don't know.
It was, but I mean, they're still always going to compare something to that. So, like, I don't know who else would have been Manning. Like, it could be Joe Burrow, but he's been hurt all year. Lamar Jackson, but he's just completely different. You can't really compare him to those guys.
Sure. And I get it, but like at that point, just don't compare it.
But Lamar might be more equivalent to Manning, because I think he should win MVP again.
That'd be 2.
He has a chance at actually winning a Super Bowl.
I think he's going to win it. Yeah.
I think that's a more fair comparison. Yeah. But it's just like
if you go by like head to head wise and just like,
oh yeah.
But the hype behind Mahomes and Allen playing every year is always huge.
Yeah, it's just like at this point,
I don't know. It's the same. Like
Mahomes always pulls out.
Burrow and Mahomes, like
he's the measuring stick. But
100%.
A good game though. Like I don't know. That was a good game.
Well, I know they had, one of the other times they did not score. Remember the fumble out of the end zone?
Yeah,
and we wanted to talk about that because I know there's been talk of it already this year about that rule possibly changing for next year. And I'll be honest with you, even though I was for Buffalo and I was happy about that happening, I think it'd be the right call to not have it to where it fumbles out of the end zone and then it's the other team's ball, the defensive's ball, because you do it on the sidelines, it's still your ball. Maybe if they did something different to where they said, okay, it fumbled out of bounds, it's a penalty on top of it. If you fumble at the 3-yard line and it goes out of the bounds, and maybe they move it back to the 8 or they move it back to the 13-yard line. I don't know, something, but not give it right back
to the other team.
Yeah.
The best alternative I could think of was, probably won't happen, but let's say they're at the 21-yard line, fumbles it out in the end zone. It's a loss of downs, go back to the 21-yard line. Like, basically, like you kind of said, as if it's a penalty. I don't think you should lose yards for it, because if you fumble the ball out of bounds at the 1, you get the ball at the 1. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't think they should, like, in a way, punish them too much. But I think a loss of downs would be fair, because, like, well, yeah, you lost the play. But,
yeah.
And, like, what's funny is, I think Kansas City had this happen, I think, about a little over a month ago. Same thing, fumbled it out of the end zone. And like most people are like, well, just hold on to the ball and you won't have to worry about it. Like, yeah, sure. But it's still probably one of the worst rules, I would say, wouldn't you?
I think it is one of the worst rules, and it's a big game changer as well. Only other thing different from a game changer is like a team throws a 50-yard bomb and then they get called for the other team gets called for pass interference and they weren't going to catch it anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's 50 yards down the field. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. But then I don't like this call, even though it went Buffalo's way, because the thing is like the Chiefs. We lived in Springfield for many years, and there's a lot of Chiefs fans there. And I'll be honest with you, like whenever Reed got hired and Mahomes started rolling, I was like, you know what? That's a team I think I could not get tired of, like I did with, I couldn't stand New England stuff. The thing is, I am Kansas City Chief fatigued. I am Mahomes fatigued. I'm tired of it. I want to see somebody different. And that's the thing, is that at the beginning of the year, I picked the Chiefs and the 49ers for the Super Bowl.
Oh,
I can't remember, to be honest with you. I have to go back and look and see who I thought was going to win. I think I said, golly, I want to say I said Kansas City just because until they get beat, But then the thing
I
is,
think
last week
you did say that. You did say that because you were like, until they prove me wrong or prove it wrong, then.
In the last week's podcast, I said Buffalo was going to win, but then right before the game, I told a couple of guys at a thing we were at last night from church. So I think the Chiefs are probably going to win this one, and it's. I'm just fatigued out. I want to see somebody different. I don't know how you guys feel. I know, Kellen, you're probably feeling the same way I do.
You got to appreciate it while it's here, man.
No, you're right. I told you guys that about Brady, and I told you all about Peyton Manning. But I mean, you're right. I agree, but
in the moment, it's a lot different. Yeah, it sucks.
Somebody different, please. Like Detroit Lions, fantastic for me.
Would you take Baltimore over them though? I don't like nobody wants Baltimore. A lot of people do want Baltimore. I don't want Baltimore.
I'm rooting for Baltimore right now.
Bro, Baltimore,
because that'll piss Chiefs fans off, and I hate Chiefs fans because they all think if you go up to a Chiefs fan and be like, "Hey, who are your 3 favorite players?" Oh, I like Mahomes, Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill. They don't even know Tyreek Hill doesn't play for them anymore. They don't know who the quarterback was before Mahomes. They don't know who the running back was that was the fantasy GOAT for a couple of years. They don't know anything about Chiefs history, but they're a lifelong Chiefs fan since Mahomes started rolling.
But that's why you're just rooting for Baltimore out of hatred of the Chiefs. Like,
well, I also like Lamar because he's one of the most disrespected players in the league.
You do like Lamar.
So I do like Lamar, but another big reason, is because I hate the Chiefs. If it is the 49ers and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I will not be turning on my TV. I will tell you that.
That's what I'm afraid of.
I promise you that. That's number 32 and 31 on my least favorite teams. I will not be watching.
I think we can all 3 agree. I would bet Gary would agree too. If 49ers in, that's just immediately like a bit of a underwhelming matchup just because I don't want to see him in there again. I'll be honest.
But if it's 49ers and Ravens will win. And I can tell you why. There's a big conspiracy theory, and I've looked at some proof, and it's pretty crazy.
You talking about the logo?
The logo, yeah.
But
it's pretty weird.
Tell our audience about the logo. I don't know here's the thing. There's a couple things real quick before you get into that. We're hoping Garrett is going to be he's going to try to do what he can to get some of these videos up of, the missed field goal and the fumble out of the end zone, things like that. I don't know whether or not he was successful or not. If not, whatever. But maybe he can get the logo up too. But Kellen, tell him about the logo. That's very interesting.
I don't know how far
it changed
back
in the middle of the year. It's about 4 or 5 years.
2 Super Bowls back. What?
Because I just remember, I know for sure that it was orange and yellow, and that's the year that the Rams beat the Bengals, and yellow was on bottom. Then it was green and red. The Chiefs beat the Eagles. I don't remember what happened before that. I think there was one that went with the creamsicles for Tampa Bay. And this year, it started off with red and then underneath purple, which would mean Baltimore. Which would mean a purple team would beat a red team, and due to who's left, would mean Baltimore beats 49ers.
On it though, the Rams and the Chiefs, there's more yellow and there's more red. And this year, it has more red than purple.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is on bottom, which is the other two, but it has less, which is the other 2 teams that lost.
So try to make some people lose a little money.
Yeah, that's probably
how it works though.
I just put $10K on the Ravens.
Here's the thing: Baltimore beat both Detroit and San Francisco during the regular season, and they beat them pretty good.
But we also know it's really hard to beat a good team twice.
No, and you're exactly right, 100%. But they beat them pretty good. They took it to them. So
the Ravens have beat good teams.
Yes, they have.
They've been very, very good and very consistent this year.
They kind of snuck under the radar because everybody was talking about Miami. Everybody was talking about the Chiefs, and the Chiefs kind of went down.
The Bills.
Early on, they were talking about the Bills, and then the Bills started soaring, but then they just kept winning, and they're probably. Go ahead.
I'll say in a lot of sports, you look back and it's obvious, they won, whatever, but teams will have they'll hit a wall a few years straight, and at the time you don't think back to it, but at the time, people were like, "Oh, they're chokers. They can't finish the job." But then all of a sudden, they just start winning. Right. And that's happened with the Warriors. Whenever their dynasty started, they would hit a wall, and they were so young, so it made sense. But then all of a sudden, they started winning, and that's what I feel about Baltimore a little bit right now. They've always hit a wall, but is this the time that they just something happens and now it's just they actually can win these big games. Does that make sense? Because every multiple championship sports team, or not every, but a lot of them always have that situation. And like even like I know I'm thinking of basketball because that's what I'm more into. But like LeBron had a lot of labels on him whenever he was in Cleveland, but then all of a sudden he went to Miami and he won, and then Cleveland. So it's like I don't know. All I'm saying is I feel like Baltimore might be turning the corner. I don't know. I hope not, but
no, you never know. I know. I would be happy. Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, go.
No,
You
mine's
go.
a little on the other side. So you go.
Well, no, I was just gonna say I'd be happy for Mark Andrews too. Hopefully, he'll be back this next week.
That'd
be huge.
I think he's really good. That'd be huge for those guys. You know, that's kind of what I'm looking at. Creed Humphreys plays for.
Would he get
Kansas City? What's that?
Would he get more run than Isaiah Likely though?
Not likely.
No, I think Mark Andrews. Are you talking about Andrews?
Yeah,
you think they would give him
a
snap limit?
Yeah. Well, also Likely's playing real good.
I think if he's good to go, he's good to go. I think they're going to do everything they can to obviously win
I think they were
game.
smart to let him rest one more week. Like, did they?
Yeah.
Like, they were pretty confident going into this week. Like, let him rest one more week.
100%. So I'm hoping he's back. I would be very surprised if he does not come back for this game, but I'll be excited for him. Kellen, what were you going to say before I start talking?
What's that stat when a quarterback loses their first Super Bowl? Is it they never go back or they never win?
It's tough to win. It's tough to win.
There's only one quarterback, and that's Jared Goff, who lost his Super Bowl. So he shouldn't.
After the
storyline would say he doesn't go back.
I want to go into something because you brought something up that I've been putting together, and that is quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. And I looked through here, and basically the average for winning your first, the average starting, you're being a starter of the season, basically, or you're starting for a team, is 5 years for the first one. Jared Goff's in his 8th year. Lamar Jackson's in his 6th year. Brock Purdy's in his 2nd year. Mahomes already won one. So, and Mahomes won it in his 3rd year. So what I'm saying is, if we go by that kind of history, it's either going to be Mahomes or it's going to be Brock Purdy as the Super Bowl winners. Because if I look at this thing just real quick, let me show you. And what I did is I went through every quarterback. Bart Starr won it in his 11th year. Joe Namath in his 4th. I could go on and on. But I mean, Lynn Dawson is 13th. So some teams up there. But then it goes down to also then there's some quarterbacks that got traded during that time, like Jim Plunkett. He won it in his 9th year. However, it was his 2nd year starting for the Raiders. Doug Williams was in his 10th year, but he was in his 2nd year for starting for Washington. Oops, that's interesting. And then let's see here. Brad Johnson was in his 9th year, won it in his 2nd year.
What year was Brady?
Steve Young won it in his 3rd year, starting for San Francisco. What's that?
Brady.
Tom Brady?
He was early, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was his 1st year as a starter. He was in his 2nd year, but his 1st year as a starter. You know what I mean? So then, like Matthew Stafford won in his 13th year, but it was his 1st year with the Rams. Meaning, like quarterbacks can win if they move on to a different team, but it's hard for them to win. So like, I don't. That's just history of it, correct? You know what I mean? So it's not guaranteed of anything. But either Mahomes, in my opinion, Mahomes is going to win it, or it's going to be Brock Purdy.
Why do you say Brock Purdy?
Because he's in his 2nd year.
Be Lamar.
Yeah, but if you go by average, Lamar is closer to the average. So Lamar would be more likely.
But he's over the average, is what I mean. That's why I'm trying to say, like,
barely
I get it, but I'm just saying.
But to get to an average, you got to have an up and a down, and he's closer.
I totally agree with you.
To the median.
That's what I'm saying. I truly think that's what it's going to be. Go ahead.
I feel like a lot of quarterbacks, off the top of my head, I'm thinking like Brady and Mahomes, like spoiled us in the sense of like they just win right off the bat. because Lamar, in most people's eyes, is like late to not win one. Like it's been at forever. But literally by the history, he's like, you could say late by a year, but 1 year is barely anything. So it's like,
I know. It'll be
what I'm
interesting.
saying is like, he's not late at all. And I'm not even a Lamar fan, but I'm just saying he's not late really at all. It's just, we got spoiled by certain quarterbacks winning it right off the bat.
And that's kind of what I mean by like, I love Dak Prescott, but I don't think they're ever going to win a championship with him. And especially if you look at that kind of stuff like that, like the history of it, you don't ever. Now, if he moved on to another team, it's possible that he could win one with another team. I don't know if he would, but it's possible, right? But that's the interesting thing is like generally when a quarterback wins a Super Bowl, especially as of late, it's pretty early in their careers with that team. If that makes any sense. So who knows? I don't know what I called the sports animal this morning. They had a question. See if you guys know. The thing is, though, is I got the answer right. I called the answer, and I said it. I said who I thought it was, and they told me I was wrong, which I was not wrong. Because their question was, what two teams in the NFL have won Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks? Do you know the answer?
Packers right off the bat.
Yeah. Bart Starr.
Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers.
Right. You think?
Not the Cowboys, right?
Nope. It was just Roger Staubach and
Aikman. Is it kind of like a random, like underdog?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like the 49ers or something, is it?
No, 49ers were just young in Montana.
Wouldn't be New England.
No. All of theirs is one guy.
It's just been one guy.
Oh, really? I thought they won one with somebody else at some point.
Think of somebody
can I look at NFL teams.
Who upset the Patriots?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Remember, who was that?
The Giants?
Yeah.
Phil Simms, Jeff Hostetler, and Eli Manning. Here's the issue. When I called, I said the Washington Redskins, and the guy goes, nope, sorry, wrong. Well, here's the thing, dude. You were wrong. Because they won with Joe Theismann when they beat the Miami Dolphins. They won with Doug Williams whenever they beat the Denver Broncos, and they won with Mark Rippon when they beat Buffalo. So I texted them for about an hour saying, hey, because if you get the song right, or if you get it, you get to play the song you want to play, and I was going to have them play It'll Pour Some Sugar on Me from Def Leppard. But it made me mad because I'm like, guys, you're lying. And they never did respond. I tried calling and everything, but it is what it is. But there are 3 teams. Now, here's the thing, is you got a chance here. Baltimore has a chance because they won one with Trent Dilfer. They won one with Flacco. If Lamar wins, and the same thing with San Francisco, right? Yes. If that would be the 3rd quarterback there. So it's a pretty interesting question, I thought, but it just made me, I was so ticked off because I'm like, there's no shot. No shot. Well, kind of gets us into some picks for this weekend's games. Let's see here. The first game, who plays first? Do you guys know? I mean, be honest with you.
Kansas City, Baltimore at 2 p.m. Central.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Who do you have? Kellen, you've already said it. You got Baltimore, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Kansas City.
Yeah, I'll never pick Kansas City.
Here's the thing.
I'm going to take him.
I am so tired of Kansas City. I'm just tired. I know we've got friends that are Kansas City fans. A lot of them are listening right now.
To them,
that's great.
Nothing personal.
But and the thing is that they didn't like Dallas either. So I can say I'm not a big fan of Kansas City. So it's okay. It's no big deal. Still like them as friends, but
I respect the ones that were Chiefs fans early on. I respect them.
I agree. And most of these guys that I know,
if you're a Chiefs fan and a Warriors fan, don't talk to me.
Yeah. But until somebody beats those Chiefs, I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs over Baltimore. I think there's going to be at least an upset this weekend.
It's like whenever it's just like the classic saying of like, don't bet against Brady. Like, you can't just. I feel like it's just dumb to bet against Mahomes. That's all it is.
If they win, it'll be the last time though, because Kelsey will retire and Mahomes will never recover.
Yes, you heard he's retiring after this year.
He'll be fine.
There's a chance. Nah, look what he was crying when all he had was Kelsey. Because he's anytime a receiver dropped the ball, he's over.
Mahomes on his team. He has the most accurate pass average in the NFL by a wide margin, and also the most drops.
Yeah, but you got to catch the ball with a throw. That's what. Look at Brady. Brady turned a bunch of target cart boys into receivers that you've heard of. That's the difference between Brady and Mahomes. Brady made players.
Mahomes can create a play like Manning. Nobody else,
but he can't create a player.
Yeah,
no, he may not be able to create a player, but he can create a play.
Once Kelsey's done, he's done.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
We'll see.
Okay. Let me say this though.
I think he's really good.
I see what you're saying, but you and Gary preach this like nobody's business. That once Tyreek left, Mahomes was done, and then he's still going.
Yeah, but look what happened to him this year. He was struggling all year because even he lost more receivers and like
last year. But you have to have receivers to be like
you do.
Josh Allen has
but Brady turned guys that would never be good with anybody else.
Yes, but I'm not comparing Brady. I'm not comparing. I'm not comparing Brady. I'm just comparing.
I'm just saying, but Mahomes. So what I'm saying is, if he doesn't got Kelsey, he's done.
We'll come back to this. What episode is this? I don't even know. We'll come back to this in like 2 years when Mahomes has 2 more rings.
And you're gonna be like, man,
I hope not.
I wish I would have stopped keeping Mahomes in fantasy because he's gone from 30 points a game to 18.
Now he did struggle this year, no doubt, but like, I don't know. I'm taking the Chiefs overall. I think it'll be a close game, and I think it'll require a little comeback actually.
Yeah,
but I think they pull it out.
I think the Ravens are going to do just what they did this week. Let's keep it interesting for one half. Make sure everybody watches. Make sure everybody watches. We get the views up, and then boom,
money up.
Second half comes in, and they just light a flame under him, and it's just Mahomes is on the sideline, tears, cracking another helmet. Taylor Swift dumps Kelsey.
I want to ask.
He's retiring after the season. I'm just telling you.
He doesn't want to be in a league without his big bro.
Well, him and his brother have different plans from what I'm reading right now. They've got some kind of plans to do like how Peyton Manning and Eli Manning do. They're going to do something like that.
That's
all right. So this next game, what time is this game, Gannon?
I believe 7. No, okay, sorry, 5:30 Central.
So 5:30 Central time, the Detroit Lions at the San Francisco 49ers. What are you guys thinking is going to happen here?
I'm going to roll with Detroit, man. San Francisco's no doubt the better team. Just going Detroit.
Cool.
Bias? Oh, for sure.
It's all right.
I want Detroit to win so bad, but I think I got to pick 49ers.
Oh, dude.
I know, but they got all the weapons. There's no reason they shouldn't win. Yeah. They got McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Debo might not play, but they still got Kittle.
But no, I was saying
they got a great mediocre quarterback that's just a game manager. They got a good defense. I really hope Detroit wins, and I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if they won because they are good and they're hot. But on paper, I got to pick the safe bet, and that's San Francisco. That's who I should have picked in the whole beginning of the year.
But I didn't want to. Amon-Ra St. Brown legacy game.
I hope so. Here's the thing. I'm for Detroit. I'm for Detroit the rest of the playoffs, and I'm hoping they can win this thing. I truly think they have a really good chance. The only reason I'm picking San Francisco is that's who I picked at the beginning of the year. And I want to, that's the only reason I think. Plus, it's at home. If it was in Detroit, I think it'd be a completely different thing. Detroit has not looked, or San Francisco has not looked great. I still think they got a really good defense, okay? Their offense has sputtered a little bit. To Kellen's point, Brock Purdy's, he's a little bit of a game manager, but they still have McCaffrey. They still have Kittle. And I don't think Debo's going to play, but he might, but he'll probably give it a go, but he may not play. But regardless, I just think they've got a little bit more edge. And I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. I want Detroit to win this thing so bad, but I'm going with San Francisco.
They'll bench Debo just so they can have an excuse again this year.
Yeah. They have the edge talent-wise, but, dude, Dan Campbell hyping that team up to get to the Super Bowl.
I agree. And I know Gary...
I would love it, man.
I know Garrett doesn't agree, but I think Shanahan's a really good coach. I think he's a good coach for doing what he's done. He's built this team. But we'll see. But we will see next week. Hopefully, when we get back on, I'm hoping it's the Detroit Lions against the Baltimore Ravens is what I'm hoping. And usually what I hope usually goes wrong. So fans, I'm just giving you a heads up. So it'll probably be San Francisco.
I will not be turning on. I'll pull I'm going to be watching Andy Griffith.
Uncle Glenn, 8 hours of Andy Griffith. That's funny. Well, great. Well, next week, hopefully Garrett will be able to join us and we'll be back. We want to appreciate everybody for listening to the podcast. I know you got a lot going on in your lives and you're giving us time to hopefully crack a couple smiles here and there. Or you may get mad at us because you don't agree with what we're saying. But you know what? I really don't care because we got our opinions and
it's a free country.
I'm usually right. Yeah, it is. It's a free country.
Jeez.
But for my sons, Kellen and Gannon, I'm Todd Fox, and I want to remind everybody that iron sharpens iron.
Please stay safe.
Be savage, not average.
And remember to join the skulk. And until next time, goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Boomer. Boomer Sooner.
You've been listening to the Foxx Den Sports Podcast with Todd, Kellen, Garrett, and Gannon. Find us on Facebook at Foxx Den Sports. That's Fox with 2 X's. Drop us an email at foxdensports@yahoo.com. And be sure to share this podcast with other sports fans in your life. This has been Foxx Den Sports.